Joining me now is Sourabh Gupta with the Institute for China-America Studies. He's a senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist. A lot to unpack there. Donald Trump seems to be all over the place on this, praising, of course, President Xi in his comments, but then also saying that he's kind of open to joining TPP after saying it was a terrible idea earlier. What do you make of all of this?
What I make from all of this is that he still doesn't have a firm grasp of exactly where he wants to go on these issues. He kind of lays out his cards initially, and he puts strong cards on the table, but he typically wants to then negotiate it and find a means to have a negotiated solution. But it's not certain that if the cards that he has placed on the table are amenable to negotiation. The tariffs which he has placed on the table are absolutely WTO illegal. China has already initiated a case. And so on that aspect, on the tariff aspect, it's not going to be easy for either side to backtrack. And that's where the danger arises, I frankly feel.
What about pressure here in Washington? We saw in Jim Spellman's piece, you have a lot of people testifying before lawmakers saying, look, this stuff is hurting us. It may be a guy talking about steel saying, maybe this was supposed to help me. It's certainly not. We're not getting the orders we once did. How much pressure does that start to put on lawmakers and, as a result, the White House as well?
Oh, it does incrementally does add up. Even today, on the Section 301 proposed tariffs, a huge list of associations organized by the National Retail Foundation put out a letter and sent it to Bob Lighthizer. These things do have an effect. You see Donald Trump himself going to the agricultural lobbies and to the agricultural groups and saying, hey, I hear you, I know you are going to get hurt. Initially, the posture was that, oh, no, nothing's going to happen, people are going to fold, everything will be fine afterwards. Understanding of that people will get damaged. And so this sort of lobbying and this getting together and putting pressure really does have an effect, I feel.
Ambassador Jha floating this idea that other countries may gain from the U.S. losses. Peru's neighbor might be a prime example of that. Of course, Brazil creates soybeans, and we've heard a lot of concern in Iowa and other parts of the Midwest where they count on China to buy their soybeans. And Brazil has even seen China has raised the demand for Brazilian soybeans. It's jumped by 300% in just the last 8 years. That's a market they don't want to lose or cede to another country. Talk to me about all of this as well.
That absolutely important in this regard, how these other secondary producers who are actually in some cases more competitive in actually selling the product, but have become the secondary supplier because there might be a preferential trade agreement, or there is on the basis of political arrangements between senior leaders. There's obviously the issue with soybeans related to who's going to export to the Chinese market. And the Chinese market, that's one of the biggest agricultural exports by the U.S. to the Chinese market. We're having those same issues in the NAFTA negotiations with Mexico saying, you know what, we are going to buy our ag products from Brazil, not from the U.S. There's pressure out there. U.S. is competing against Australia to sell beef in these Asian markets, primarily China, and in the TPP markets. And therefore, I mean, these things do add up also. But at the end of the day, it's not about who wins from these secondary deals. Everybody, I think, frankly, loses if number one and number two fight the way that it's turning out to be.
Yeah, it's very fascinating to watch. Sourabh Gupta, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.